So how has your process had to change? What kind of valuation discounts? Because obviously those companies may not get down to 40, 50% as often as a commodity company might. So how do you go about, how has that philosophy changed how you do things?
Yeah, Charlie, he will say XYZ company is a cinch or ABC company is not a cinch. And like, for example, if you asked him about American Express, for example, Charlie would say it's not a cinch. But if you had asked Buffett and Munger about American Express maybe 20 years ago, they would have said it's a cinch. It's what he means is that the odds that would have something destroy that franchise was just so infinitesimal at that point, which is not the case in their minds today. So it's a very good business. It probably does really well, but in the definition that he uses of a cinch, which is a pretty high bar, he doesn't think it's a cinch. So it's very funny when I have these conversations with Charlie. I'll ask him, "Is it a cinch?" Charlie, no, this is not a cinch. This is a cinch. Blah blah. So once Charlie says something is a cinch, and if it's sitting at a cheap price, I know all I got to do is back up the truck, and life is good. So one thing that changes, between when you're looking at these 50-cent dollar bills versus these long-term compounders, is you need to get as close as possible to a cinch. So I haven't asked Charlie this, but if I were to ask him, Charlie, is Costco a cinch? He would probably say, yes, Costco is a cinch. Okay, because it's very hard to imagine forces that would destroy Costco today. And in fact, each time they open a store, the moat becomes that much more valuable. Each time they add a member, the moat becomes more valuable. So on both sides, you've got this deepening moat effect taking place every day. So the question, I think, when you're looking at these long-term compounders is a fanatical focus on cinches or near cinches, where you need to, if you're not going to sell the business for a very, very long time. Capitalism is brutal. 99% of businesses that get started won't even last 10 years. Even the Fortune 500 companies won't last more than a few decades. Eventually, almost all of them will die. And so trying to find the exception to the rule is in many ways a fool's errand. But that's also the path to getting to the promised land. And so cinches are very important. Another mental model, which I think is really interesting and important, is there's a good friend of mine, and he used to work at a multi-billion-dollar fund. And many years ago, maybe this must be more than 15 years ago, he was the analyst looking at American Tower, the company. And the company had organized a few analysts at these large firms to visit their headquarters. And they were going to have some presentations, maybe an hour. Then they were going to have lunch, and then they were going to have a golf game with the CEO, CFO, and a few other people. So he showed up a little early, and he was sitting with the CFO in his office. And the CFO had his feet on his desk. And it didn't appear to my friend like the CFO had anything to do. He was just sitting there relaxing. So my friend asked him, don't you have deals to do? Like, you're just sitting here. Don't you have things to do? He said, because they are a very acquisitive company. They buy lots of towers. That's how they grow. He said, look, anyone who owns a tower has our phone. And anytime they want to sell a tower, they can call us. And we already know what we're going to pay for the towers. So we just sit here, the calls come in, we give them our term sheet, and life goes on. And then we keep, acquiring more and more towers. And each tower is getting more and more valuable over time because they're hanging more and more tenants off it. All of this stuff, right? So there was another company called Bandag, which was in Iowa, which is, retreading tires. And Chuck Akre had visited their headquarters a few decades ago. And again, when he went in to see the CEO, he saw the guy had his feet up on his desk. And so if the CEO has his feet up on the desk, generally speaking, that's a kick-ass business to invest in. So the first question to ask is it a cinch? Okay. And like Amex is not a cinch and Costco is a cinch. So that's a high bar. The second question, is this a business that the guy can run with his feet on his desk? And most businesses cannot be run that way. If the guy puts his feet on his desk for half a day, in 3 months, he'll be out of business. That's the reality with most businesses. So if it's a very different way of thinking about it, right? One way of thinking about it is these 50-cent dollar bills, blah, blah, blah. The other way is you're going after these long runways. And basically, the way I look at my portfolio now, it's a museum. And eventually what that museum has to have is only cinches and only feet on desk businesses. Let me be very candid with you. I am not in the promised land right now. I only have 2 businesses that I can think of where they are cinches and the feet are on the desk. But 2 is not bad. The idea is hopefully in the next few years, all these Mickey Mouse businesses go out of the portfolio and they get replaced with these awesome businesses. And the third question to ask is, what is the destination? So if I look at a business like Costco, they just entered China. They opened 1 store in China and the store got mobbed. They had to put restrictions on how many people could come in because they just couldn't handle it. So if you fast forward 20 years, what does Costco look like? And I don't know what it looks like, but it's possible China has 1,000 stores. Could easily be within the realm of possibility. There's probably more than 160 or 170 countries where Costco has no presence. So could they have a presence in 10 more countries in 20 years? Maybe. So what does that business look like in 20 years? It probably looks a lot better as long as the culture stays set and the core DNA of Costco remains intact. So that's a business that, at least looking at it in 2021, looks like a cinch with a great destination. So the question to ask yourself is, what is the destination? If you ask the question about what is the destination on Frontline, your head will go for a tailspin. You're going to deal with all the Greek owners and figure out what they're doing. And then you might get some ideas. So that's the thing. Cinches, feet on the desk, and awesome destinations.
So Mohnish, then if you're looking at, say, Costco and that checks those boxes, then are you trying to value it on where it's at currently? How much are you giving it for its destination? How do you think about it?
So the problem for someone like me is I want to have my cake and eat it too. So I want Costco at 3 times earnings. And it's slightly above 3 times earnings. Let's look at what Google says Costco's trailing multiple is right now. So the trailing multiple, according to Yahoo, is 36. 36 is not bad for a kick-ass business like Costco. But for a cheapskate like me, at 15 times earnings, you lost me. I would go above 3 for Costco. I might be interested to even look further at, low double digits. But when you get past that, you lose me. So such is life.
Mohnish Pabrai spoke about Charlie Munger's Cinch Method, one of the most powerful ideas in investing. A cinch is an investment opportunity that is so obvious, low risk, and highly rewarding that it becomes a true no-brainer. Munger believed that these opportunities are extremely rare, but when they appear, investors should be willing to bet big rather than spread their money across dozens of stocks. As we know, most wealth is not created by making hundreds of average decisions, but by recognizing a few exceptional opportunities and acting decisively. The challenge is having the patience to wait for them and the conviction to act when they arrive. As Charlie Munger said, when odds are overwhelmingly in your favor, that's when concentration makes sense, or else it does not.